Is the return of the most enjoyed cup competition in world football and the longest cup competition in world football this weekend, as the FA Cup returns for the third round, and I can see the excitement already brewing on Brad's face.
It's already been established how much I love the third round. It is the greatest weekend in the English football calendar, and I don't give any toss what you say.
I said my part this time last year on the FA Cup, and I'm not going to go over it again.
Nobody remembers it, so go on, speak your hatred.
It's boring, the money's not there anymore, and the top clubs only care about getting in these European places because there's more money, and finishing high up in the Premier League, because you barely get anything for winning the FA Cup compared to what you get for getting into Europe and further in the European competition. So it means nothing to a lot of Premier League clubs, I would say, nowadays, considering the amount of money that's pumped into the Premier League.
But this is your problem. All you focus on is the big teams, whereas I look at where real football emanates, and that is at the non-league level.
And speaking of the non-league level, we have released a documentary on our YouTube channel, which you did recently, where you spoke to one of those non-league teams in the third round, Kidderminster Harriers. You spoke to their manager, Russ Penn, about the FA Cup and Kidderminster's journey.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work on a documentary that started off as a uni project. Still is a uni project. I still haven't heard how I've done with that yet, so fingers crossed for me.
Yes.
But it ended up evolving into something that I wanted to do for the channel, and it worked out pretty well so far, hopefully. They were lying to me.
I mean, I've watched it. Obviously, you sent it to me beforehand. But yeah, it's a really good documentary, and it does showcase the brilliance of what the FA Cup does have for the lower league and non-league teams. And yeah, it's always good when you see an upset from a minnow on one of the big teams. And they themselves don't, unfortunately, have a Premier League team this time round. They're obviously facing Championship side Reading. But I think we could still have a few shocks on our cards this weekend if you look at some of the fixtures potentially playing out.
I don't know, because God, Manchester United beating Aston Villa, what a shock that would be.
Shut up.
Yeah, they are there. Like, it's the FA Cup, you always have to hope for the shock.
And like, it's always something, like, even me, who is not the biggest fan of it, I do, like I say, I like seeing a shock in the FA Cup, whether, I mean, you think back to yesteryear of Bradford doing really well in the cup competitions, and it's always good and enjoyment to see like that happen, but I feel like it doesn't happen enough as much now. If we have a look at some of the ties that we have this weekend in the FA Cup, obviously potential upsets, we've got Swindon versus Manchester City on Friday evening. Obviously we don't know what Team City will be able to port out due to their COVID cases, which I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, so there's the potential there for the upset. Mansfield, they could knock out Middlesbrough. Obviously Middlesbrough having a decent season in the Championship, but obviously Mansfield being a lot lower ranked side than them. You also look at Chelsea. They play host to Chesterfield. Obviously it's unlikely that an upset could happen there, but you never know. Other than that,
Can I add something with that? Because I feel like it's important to state Chesterfield aren't a bad team. They're top of the national league.
Yeah. I'm 100% not writing them off, but it's a big ask for them.
Well, it's not to do not write them off. Obviously, people will write them off, but it's just nice to see someone like Chelsea against the team that is currently the best in the non-league level.
And then just a few more potential upsets: Liverpool versus Shrewsbury, Tottenham versus Morecambe, and even Nottingham Forest Arsenal is a game that could definitely throw one up for the books.
Yeah, and even away from like the shocks, there's some standouts. I'm going straight to Saturday. Millwall against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Give me the spice and the fights.
Oh, it really does whet your appetite there. Coventry Derby, I think, is going to be a really interesting game as well on Saturday afternoon. That is definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I've said to as well, this is important any fans maybe in that area, I've seen you can pay on the day as well. If you want a game to go down there.
Yes. Bit of FA Cup magic. I do like going to FA Cup games, the few that I have been to in the past. A lower league game that I'm...
Should we talk about what happened? We went to, it was the third round game, was it? It was first round, was it? First or second round, but it was Luton versus Solihull Moors. We were at least half an hour late to it and missed the first goal, and then just about saw Solihull go 2-0 up. And then by the end of it, Luton won 6-2 or something like that.
I thought it was 8-2 in the end.
No, it was 6. It wasn't 8.
Well,
Definitely
yeah,
was not.
it's always good to watch an FA Cup game, even, even if you're not the biggest fan. It is just so good because you feel, especially if you go to a game of these lower league sides, you can feel the pure emotion that it means to their fans.
Yeah, it also helps, like, financially. The money they get from it is so important, and even more so in these trying times.
Yeah, definitely so. What is one game, obviously excluding our game on Monday night, what's the one game that you think, I definitely want to keep up to date with it this weekend?
I mean, I said Millwall Palace.
Mm.
Thank God, I'm so happy that's on telly.
Yes.
It's asking for carnage. It's just asking for it. I'm trying so hard not to say this 1-1 Premier League game, but I may not have much choice. Obviously, I'm going to have my eye on Kidderminster and Reading.
Yes.
Hopefully it goes ahead, because there's the slight concern with Reading brewing, from what I've heard. Do you know what I'll say? West Ham Leeds does have potential to be interesting.
Yeah.
It's whether both teams properly go for it.
The one for me is Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal. That is a game that always throws up something interesting and...
It feels old school, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a proper cup tie fixture, if you get what I mean.
Like Brian Clough versus George Graham.
Yeah.
It's very niche.
Yes, our older listeners will definitely know the meaning behind that saying.
What for the 50+ demo?
Yes, definitely. But yeah, always a great weekend, FA Cup, and the fourth round draw will be made after the Man United game, will it? Or was it before the Man United game?
I swear they always do it before.
I can't think I remember. Probably would make sense before.
But if they do it before, it's just nice for us to be in the fourth round draw for a change. It's been a little while.
And for Man United's sake, they need to win this cup because they're not going to win anything else.
Do you think your lot will go for it?
Oh yeah, they have to. They've got nothing else to go for. I mean, Champions League, it's a hard tie against Atletico Madrid. Safe to say they're out of the Premier League title race. You got to say you need some sort of cup competition win to consider a decent season. Otherwise, it's going to be horrendous.
There's an interesting saving grace for the majority of Premier League teams, unless they were involved in Carabao Cup action. It's that they've had a week to rest people up, unlike they would have in the past.
Yeah, because I mean, both of us, well, we would have had exactly a week. You would have had, 8-9 days? It's only 24, 48 hour difference, but it's not going to make that much of a difference by the time kickoff comes around.
Yeah, we would have had a bit longer.
But yeah, it is very unusual that teams have had this big of a gap in between fixtures for the FA Cup and League.